Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. Let me say right off the top, this video has spoilers, and that should be pretty obvious from the title. So, if you don't want to have any Road Trader spoilers, now is your time to check out. I finally finished my first run of Rogue Trader, and that allowed me to unlock one of the secret party members. For those who do not know, I believe each disposition has a secret party member that you can unlock and have as part of your crew. And for this first run, I was Dogmatic, so I unlocked Incendia Chorda. She joined me essentially for Act 5. You can recruit her basically at the end of Act 4. Now, let me just let you know up front so I don't waste anybody's time. She sucks. She sucks all the way around. You can't have a conversation with her, not any sort of real conversation with her when she's on your ship. So you don't get any special dialogue, information, or background about what's happening. I used her in the final mission. She had virtually no reactivity. I don't think she chimed in once to anything that was happening. And her build, in my opinion, sucks if you're on a dogmatic run. Because if you're doing that type of run, then pretty obviously you should have Argenta with you and in your party. And Chorda is really just a poor woman's Argenta. And really just all the way around, she pales in comparison to Argenta. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into what she provides. So she automatically comes with Melta, Plasma, and Flame weapon proficiency, which is very, very nice. Gives you some additional options to use for her. And she comes from an Imperial world, which means she gets the Humanity's Finest bonus, and she's put that bonus in Willpower, which obviously is not what you really want, considering she's supposed to be your damage-focused character, and she's not a psyker. You really want that in ballistic skill, but it is what it is. And then she also has the Ministorum Priest background, which means she comes with the Warhammer features, similar to Argenta. So she's going to be able to gain momentum that scales with her willpower bonus once per combat. And it also grants an additional amount of momentum equal to your willpower bonus for each enemy that is within a 5-cell radius around you or was hit by you. This is really, really nice. Helps to push momentum up even faster and consequently unlock your heroic act faster as well. Now, she also gets another ability that Argenta actually doesn't have called Cleansing. For 1 round, all of her area attacks automatically critical hit, and her critical damage is increased by half of her willpower bonus. Very, very nice. As you can see from this, Chorda is going to focus on area attacks as opposed to Argenta, who, if you're using her bolter, she's going to be focused much more on burst attacks. All right, that's everything for her features. So now let's go ahead and dig into the archetype. And she starts as Soldier. Unlike all the other party members that you have received, you have no ability whatsoever to affect Chorda's beginning and secondary archetype. All of these choices are locked in stone. You do not get to start making choices about her build until you reach exemplar status. So let's go ahead and get into it. As you all know by now, it starts with Run and Gun, which is going to provide you additional movement points that scales with your agility bonus, and it's going to allow you to use an additional attack during your turn, although you have to do that with a 10 penalty to ballistic skill, and you cannot use Run and Gun again until the next round. This is absolutely fantastic. It's going to help Chorda pump out a lot more damage. Next up, she takes the Demolition skill. By the time you get her, skills don't really matter anymore. If you're putting Chorda on your team, you might be replacing Argenta, so it's probably nice that she has Demolition technically, but as you'll see in a little bit, it really isn't all that nice because she's not building up agility the way you would for Argenta, and consequently her demolition really isn't all that high. Next up is Revel and Slaughter, which you can activate once you have killed 3 enemies for 1 action point, and it's going to give her a plus 10 bonus to ballistic skill, and her critical damage and critical hit chance are going to scale up based on her agility bonus. Very, very nice. You want to activate this every time it's available. At level 4, you're going to get what, in my opinion, is the best heroic act in the game, Firearm Mastery. It's going to give you additional attacks based upon your weapon's rate of fire, and these attacks do not spend action points. And until the end of your turn, the first attack against each new enemy automatically scores a critical hit, and this automatically reloads your weapon. Absolutely fantastic all the way around. Allows you to really clear out an entire room. And then at that same level, she's also going to take Point Blank, which is going to cause her area attacks to gain a bonus to armor penetration that scales with her ballistic skill bonus, and it's going to ignore an amount of deflection that's equal to half her ballistic skill bonus when used against enemies in a 3-cell radius around her. So with Chorda, you want to give her more than likely a heavier weapon, allow her to be a little bit closer, and then just absolutely mow down enemies, most likely with Flame or Melta, which again is different from what you get with Argenta. So I like that it's kind of a different flavor, even though unfortunately she's just not built quite as well. Next up, you're going to increase her ballistic skill. Absolutely fantastic. She's going to need as much ballistic skill as possible, so this is a good choice. After that, she's going to take Tenderize. Enemies damaged by the soldier's area attacks suffer additional damage from the next attack that gets them, and that additional damage is going to scale with your ballistic skill bonus. Nice stuff. This is nice to have considering she focuses on area attacks, but there are definitely other options that I feel like are more important, and as you'll see as we move on, it seems like she never picks those options up. So at the next level, she again increases ballistic skill, and again, that's fantastic. And then the first ability she takes is Concentrated Fire. So on her next ranged attack, she's going to deal additional damage that scales with her ballistic skill bonus, and it's going to have dodge reduction that scales with her ballistic skill bonus. Again, this is absolutely fantastic for her as she focuses on area attacks. Next up, she's going to increase willpower, which is unfortunate because Soldier scales a lot off of agility. And as you can see in the list, her agility is kind of paltry all the way around because she focuses on willpower instead. Now, obviously, because she's a priest, she has some things that scale off willpower, so it's not completely wasteful, but it makes her a significantly weaker character than what you can get from Argenta. Next after that, she takes No Heresy, which is going to give her additional critical hit chance and armor against Xenos or demonic creatures. And in exchange, she's going to take significantly lower scores in lower Xenos and lower Warp. That's absolutely fine. This is a fantastic buff, especially by this point in the game. You're going to be facing Xenos left and right. So definitely nice to have. Next up, Combat Medicae. Healing an ally with a medikit in combat restores additional wounds. Obviously, this is a terrible choice for her. Chorda is not a medic at all. She does not care about the health and safety of the people around her. There's just no reason for her to have this, and it's a waste overall. Next up, she increases demolition again. That's fine. After that, she takes a Firearm Mastery upgrade that allows each of her area attacks to deal additional damage equal to the number of attack targets. Absolutely fantastic. Again, she's going to be using area attacks all the time, so this is good stuff. After that, she takes Integrity. While at full wounds, Soldier has plus 10 ballistic skill and plus 2 movement points. This isn't a bad option, especially at this point in the game. Most of your encounters should be ending in the first round, and the vast majority of the time, enemies shouldn't even have a chance to react. So keeping yourself at full wounds shouldn't be that big a deal, and it's going to change your ballistic skill bonus. Again, there are a bunch of other options that I feel like are more important, but this isn't a bad pickup. Next up, she'll increase willpower again. And again, I think it's a mediocre choice. After that, she's going to get dash, which allows you to move in a particular direction for up to 3 cells. And it does not provoke attacks of opportunity. So it's basically a get out of jail free card. Absolutely. I think this is worth picking up. Next up, she's going to increase Medicae. I don't have an issue with this. In fact, I do the same thing in my Argenta build. You focus on demolition first, and then you move into Medicae, and it's going to make Argenta a little bit more self-sufficient. Argenta serves as my main damage dealer, so if I was going to switch her out for Chorda, Chorda would take on that role as well, and I'd want her to be self-sufficient, especially since she's going to need to be closer, so I think this makes sense. Next up, she's going to increase perception. So basically, she completely ignores agility, which again is unfortunate. Soldier really benefits from agility, doesn't benefit nearly as much from perception. So this will lower enemies' dodge a little bit, but other than that, it's not helping you the way you really need. After that, she has Stronger Together. All allies, excluding Xenos in the current party, gain +5 to the same characteristic as was chosen for Humanity's Finest. You might be thinking that Humanity's Finest was put on something like agility or perception, something like that, but it's actually willpower. So if you have Psychers, if you have a Navigator, sure, I guess that +5 bonus is helping. But honestly, I think there are absolutely stronger options, especially this early in the game. So I don't particularly care for this pick. Then next up, she has Tactical Disengage. Dash does not end the soldier's movement for the turn. Enemies adjacent to the starting point of dash will consider the soldier their lowest priority target during the next turn. No, if you have to dash away from an enemy, then your next action is to go ahead and kill that enemy. Making sure that you're their lowest priority target is a waste, as is this entire talent. Next up, the Emperor Protects. The devotee gains a percentage chance to ignore any enemy attack that scales with your willpower bonus. So again, investing into willpower isn't a complete waste, and it's definitely nice to have this 8% chance, but it's not nice to the point that it's worth investing into willpower in exchange for agility. No, that doesn't make any sense. So this is a nice pickup. I wouldn't have gotten it this early, but still, we're investing into willpower. We're prioritizing willpower a little too much. Next up, she takes Nimble, which is going to grant a 10% bonus to dodge. It makes sense in Argenta's build. It doesn't make sense here because we're not investing into agility. So we're not building up dodge to the point that this 10% is really going to help us. This doesn't make sense. And then she's going to take Medicae again. That's fine. Last, she's going to take the first Firearm Mastery upgrade, which allows you to gain 4 movement points, and your attacks do not spend movement points. No. Why would you take this when you have the option to make your attacks 20% harder to dodge and give your ranged attacks 10% armor penetration? That option is sitting right there, completely ignored. That's very unfortunate. So when you look at her overall build, she's missing a lot of crucial talents like rapid reload, camaraderie can be nice, unpredictable, fired up. These enough bullets for everyone. These things, Swift Slaughter, she doesn't have second skin. She clearly is supposed to be more upfront and closer to a lot of enemies, but she doesn't have second skin to ensure she can wear medium armor without impacting her dodge. Like, it's just odd. It's just very odd the way this is put together, and it doesn't help the kind of build that obviously she's meant to have. So overall, again, she's not nearly as good as Argenta. All right, that's all for her initial archetype. So now let's talk about her upgrade archetype, which is Master Tactician. Very interesting. I actually like this because, again, it gives you a different flavor than what you probably have with Argenta. Most people aren't going to take Argenta down this road. It can still be very powerful from an offensive perspective, and combining it with the melter weapons or flame weapons as opposed to bolters, or some of you crazy kids are putting sniper rifles in Argenta's hands. So, but either way, it's going to give you something different than the way you're probably using Argenta in your playthrough. So I like that they gave you a character that provides that much of a different flavor. But the question is, does this build really help her and make her viable, especially considering how late you get her? Let's go ahead and dive in. So, Master Tactician is going to give you tactical advantage. You're going to get a +1 stack of tactical advantage per every 5 momentum gained by you or your allies. And you begin combat with the amount of tactical advantage stacks equal to your fellowship bonus. This brings up the first issue and a major reason why people don't go from soldier into master tactician. You're not building up fellowship. And this archetype really depends upon fellowship. So obviously that's going to be a problem. And spoiler alert, she doesn't do much for fellowship here. So yeah, it's still kind of a weird combination, but interesting. The advantage, though, is because you're starting this so late, you're gaining a ton of momentum by the time you start using Chorta. So your tactical advantage stacks are definitely going to be sky high. So it won't be a problem at all having enough in order to make use of all the abilities. Now, she's also going to get Press the Advantage, which empowers your next attack to deal 4% additional damage for every stack of tactical advantage you have, and you lose half of your stacks of tactical advantage rounded up. This is a monster skill by the time you get Chorta. You can absolutely wipe out major enemies by just having a really good weapon, turning this on and letting Chorta go to town. All right, so the first ability she's going to take is Inspire. The target gains +1 damage and +1 additional damage for every 10 stacks of tactical advantage, but you lose half of your stacks rounded up, and this lasts until the end of combat, and it stacks. If the target uses a heroic act before the beginning of your next turn, they regain 25 momentum. Monster ability that works on Chorta, so she can put it on herself and give herself quite a bit of additional damage that will stack over time. So basically, if you feel like it's going to be a quick battle, throw all of your stacks in and press the advantage. But if you feel like this battle is going to take a while, definitely probably want to give the majority of your stacks to Inspire first, and then whatever's left over to press the advantage to help you wipe out enemies. Now, the first talent she takes is In the Hero's Footsteps, which allows her to immediately gain an extra turn with additional action points and full movement points for the first time any of your allies use a heroic act in combat. And how many action points you get scales with your fellowship bonus. This extra turn takes place after the ally finishes their turn. This is another monster talent. Absolutely makes sense she takes this first. Again, by the time you get her, it's Act 5. You will be doing heroic acts left and right and get a ton of opportunities to make use of this. At level 4, she gets Orchestrated Firestorm. We're not going to talk about this at all because you should never be using it. Absolutely, the soldier version is superior to this one. On the next level, she's going to get an increase to AP. Obviously, that helps your action economy. And she's going to increase her ballistic skill. Obviously, that's very helpful, so this is great. She's going to increase her ballistic skill again. Obviously, that's helpful. Next up, she's going to take Joint Offensive. For every enemy hit by you, you're going to gain +1 stack of tactical advantage. Chorta is obviously a damage-oriented character, so you should be hitting enemies regularly with her. This absolutely makes sense. After that is Fervor. The Master Tactician suffers direct damage equal to 20% of their maximum wounds, gains your resolve stacks of tactical advantage, and resets the cooldown of Linchpin, Inspire, and Strong Point. Until the end of your turn, these abilities can only target yourself. So this is an easy way to give yourself more stacks of tactical advantage in anticipation of using Inspire and Linchpin and some of your other options. Suffering 20% of your maximum wounds probably sounds bad, but again, the vast majority of fights should be ending in the first round. So it's not like you're going round after round after round of enemies lighting you up. It's really not a big deal. I wouldn't have taken this early. I would have probably taken Linchpin first, but it's not a bad pickup for her at all. Next up, you get Nerves of Steel. Whenever you or your allies gain momentum, you gain 1 more. And whenever you lose momentum, you lose 1 less. So basically helping to ensure your momentum is always moving in the right place. Absolutely fantastic. After that, she increases Persuasion. Why? This is terrible all the way around. It's terrible because obviously you're not going to be using her as your conversationalist because she's not bumping up fellowship, right? So this is not going to be helpful to your team. But even more importantly, Troda is not a persuasive person. All right, the game never provides you a situation in which she's able to talk to someone in a persuasive or even intimidating fashion to get them to do what she wants them to do. Essentially, she rules through action. They see her hang somebody and they're like, oh, okay, I guess we better do what she says. It's not because she's this persuasive orator. So giving her persuasion doesn't make sense thematically or mechanically. Next up, she increases willpower. And now we're to the point that not only would you be better served by increasing agility, but you can also make the case that you'd be better served by increasing fellowship. So just all the way around, the focus on willpower doesn't really help you. After that, she takes Litany of Purification. All enemies in the area of effect of War Hymn of Furious Recital gain +1 stack of the Disturb effect, and the enemies that are adjacent to you gain 2 stacks instead. Also, all daemons in the area of effect suffer damage equal to the momentum restored to you while using this ability. And FYI, Disturb places a -10 penalty on any willpower or fellowship tests the enemies try to make. No, she's not about debuffing. She's about flat out dealing damage. And there are a bunch of other good common talents that we haven't picked up yet. Where's Grenadier? Where's It Will Not Die? Where's Swift Movements? No, there are better options than this. Next up is Stand Resolute. Whenever the Master Tactician heals an ally, that ally gains +1 resolve until the end of combat. This effect stacks up to a maximum of your fellowship bonus, which is 3. I don't know why this says 8. But even more importantly, once again, Troida is not a healer. She is not. She's not a healer thematically, and really, even though she's taken one other talent, she's not a healer mechanically. Like, just all the way around, she's not the one who's going to be healing allies. So why take a talent that focuses on that? Doesn't make sense. Next up, again, she increases persuasion. Doesn't really help you. Next up, she increases willpower. Again, it doesn't not help you, but there are other things you should be doing. I already said we're not going to talk about it. Orchestrated Firestorm, you shouldn't be using it, so its upgrades don't matter. Support the advance. At the beginning of your turn, if momentum is higher than 125, the first area attack used by you costs 1 less action point. Absolutely fantastic. Again, you're going to be pumping up momentum high all the time. She's going to use area attacks on a regular basis. This makes a lot of sense. Next up, she increases persuasion again. And then after that, finally, she has decided that agility, it needs a little bit of love. It's good to see, too little too late, but still nice. Then next up, she's going to get Shield of Fate. This is going to provide her with the armor bonus against daemons and warp damage that scales with a willpower bonus, and her resolve is permanently increased by half her willpower bonus. Very, very nice all the way around. And as you can see, she does have a willpower stat of 13, which is probably higher than a lot of your other party members. Very, very nice. It's going to help you stack momentum faster, but I just don't think it's worth all the things you sacrifice to get there. She's also going to take the linchpin talent. So the target ally or yourself was going to gain +1 resolve for every 5 stacks of tactical advantage you have, but you're going to lose half of those stacks rounded up. This effect stacks and lasts until the end of combat. And until the beginning of your next turn, you're going to gain stacks of tactical advantage equal to an amount that scales with your fellowship bonus instead of the usual amount that you gain. So this is just going to help you stack momentum even faster. Very, very nice. If you were getting Troida much earlier, I might understand this whole system. But at this point in the game, again, it should be very, very easy for you to just skyrocket momentum. Next up is Ally Coordination. Allies have 25% dodge against attacks made by allies, deal 25% less damage to allies, and deal 50% less additional damage with critical hits against allies. No, I don't like this pickup. Again, if you're going to use Troida heavily, most likely she's your main damage dealer. If she's your main damage dealer, then you're going to use your officer to allow Troida to go first and start hammering enemies immediately and building up momentum. If Troida is going first and she's already more of a frontline ranged combatant because she's going to be using those closer area attacks, she's not worried about hitting other allies. The allies are behind her. which again is why it's so terrible that she doesn't have second skin to help her build up dodge higher. But the allies are behind her while she's laying enemies down with Melta and fire. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Next up, she increases agility. Very, very nice. Increases persuasion. Not so nice. Next is comfort and conformity. Whenever an ally grants you stacks of tactical advantage, that ally also heals 1 wound for every stack granted. Now, technically, you're kind of a medic, and that other talent could be triggered. But again, why? She is not a medic. She doesn't care. She doesn't care about other people. And there are a bunch of other master tactician talents that we haven't taken. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Once again, we increase agility. And then she takes Flensing Faith. Melee, flame, and melt attacks against daemons and psychers are going to deal additional damage that scales with your willpower bonus, and they're going to gain armor penetration that scales with your willpower bonus, and such attacks against Xenos deal additional damage that scales with your willpower bonus and armor penetration. Very, very nice all the way around, and obviously you're going to want to stick with Flame or Melta as your attack option of choice. And then finally, she's going to take another upgrade of Orchestrated Firearm. Once again, no reason for you to actually use this heroic act. So now, having completely went through both archetypes, you can see she does not have any Flame Weapon Expert, Melta Weapon Expert. She does not have It Will Not Die, and even though she's clearly supposed to be closer to the front line. She does not have Grenadier. She doesn't have anything that boosts up her skills because technically her demolition really still isn't. In fact, there's no technically about it. Because she's not increasing agility, her demolition isn't nearly high enough to be the main person you're using demolition for. Like, there are just some really critical core options that you will want a character to have that Chorda hasn't picked up, on top of what she doesn't have for Soldier. I don't want to hammer the point home, so we won't go through all the talents in Master Tactician that I really feel like she should have taken. But I will say that I think it's absolutely egregious that she doesn't have Undisputed Advantage. Like, she's clearly meant to serve as your damage dealer. And you clearly are going to have to use Press the Advantage regularly in order to do that. How does she not automatically come with Undisputed Advantage? It's super, super weird. Super, super weird to me. But anyway, you cannot do anything with her until you finally become an exemplar. At which point, of course, the world is your oyster. Me personally, for her first exemplar talent, after playing through the entire game, I've really, really come to appreciate Eager for Battle. Because again, most combat encounters should end in the first round. So the first turn of your allies, super, super important. So I've kind of gotten to the point that I just take Eager for Battle for everybody, so that they can just unload with everything that they have right off the bat. And enemies, really, they should never even have a chance to react. And so I would do the same thing for her to make sure you can activate all of her different buffs and upgrades. And then outside of that, obviously, she's going to really want to focus on picking up a lot of those talents that she's missed in the first two archetypes. And then the cherry on top of everything else that I talked about, she comes with either no or terrible equipment. Why? Why does Outcat keep doing this? They did the same thing in Wrath of the Righteous if you were able to recruit Queen Galfrey, where you hear the whole game about how much of an incredible paladin she is, and then you finally get here like, yo, all the stuff I have is way better than this. Why? I don't understand. Most of her slots are empty. And in fact, a couple of these slots that are filled, they're filled with equipment that I gave her. She does come with this duelist uniform, which of course is light because she doesn't have second skin. If you equip 2 pistols, she's going to gain plus 10 ballistic skill and plus 10% hit chance, which is nice. But then it also has the base property that she gets 15% dodge if the wearer's ballistic skill is more than 70. Well, hers is clearly not. Why though? Why? And then I'm pretty sure she also came with this Inferno pistol. It does up to 40 damage, 60% armor penetration, range of 4. Again, she's got to be up close. And it does an Inferno Blast. Nice, nice, nice. Not bad at all to have. And then I gave her this Hand Flamer, which also does up to 40 damage. Unfortunately, it only has 5% armor penetration, but it does have this area attack that she can use. Once again, she really needs Flame Weapon Expert to get that -1 AP on attacks using flame weapons. Now, I also had a bracer laying around, where it's critical hits deal double damage. She should be critting all the time, hopefully, if you can pump her ballistic skill up a little bit more. And then I also gave her an elite backpack. So when she has 4 less base rate of fire, which both of her pistols do, the weapon's rate of fire is instead going to be increased by 1/3 of her ballistic skill bonus, and its recoil is double. We don't care about recoil because we're not using burst attacks anyway. So that is what Chorda comes with. Overall, I'll be honest with you, I was really disappointed when she approached me and I was like, oh, wow, I can recruit her. I was like, all right, I'll be able to have these conversations and maybe I'll end up learning more about the Inquisitor and about her background, more about what she takes. Maybe we can become friends. You know, we're both hardcore about the Imperium. There's none of that. There's none of that. She's just a body, just a body that you can stick on your team if you so choose. So hopefully this is one of the areas that see some patches and updates later on down the line, make her a more fleshed out character. We'll see. But anyway, I thought you all would be interested in finding out what she has. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Take care.